Hello and welcome to Green Street NYC, New York City's real estate innovation hub, where owners and investors collaborate with clean energy suppliers and leading edge clean tech and prop tech firms to optimize financial returns while addressing the Climate Mobilization Act and the climate imperative. Today, in episode number 4, we'll be interviewing Dale Stefancic of National Utility Refund, who has 7 years experience in energy markets and auditing. I've known Dale for about 3 or 4 years now, and Dale's an awesome stand-up guy and full of information and knowledge. So I'm really excited to introduce Dale Stefancic. Hey Dale, how are you?
Hey Robert, how are you?
Great, good. So glad to have you on.
Thanks for having me today.
Sure. So give us a little bit more about your background, please.
Well, years ago I was a corporate success coach where corporations would retain me and come in and speak with their sales firms and teams and identify the ups and downs and what their daily habits would be to try to drive some future momentum and increase, profits and sales within the organization. And actually, that's how I got into the utility auditing business. I had a client in Tampa, Florida, who was looking to expand her business, but was an energy broker, which I'm sure a lot of the listeners watching this today will identify with. She was working deregulated markets, repricing electric and natural gas. And I asked her, how does she separate herself from her competitors? We ran across the category of utility audits. So I was so intrigued by the industry as a cost reduction tool with no upfront fees and never any out-of-pocket cost. I actually began to run test pilots with varying companies, and for many reasons, as we'll go into some of those, I pitched my tent with National Utilities Refund and became a component within the organization and have developed one of the largest sales teams across the United States.
That's awesome. So how does your firm, National Utility Refund, distinguish itself from its competitors?
Well, it's a great question, Robert, and I'm glad you asked that. There's a number of utility auditing firms out there today. Some of them are just one-man bands, which I have, no faults with, but they're basically scanning bills through a software program, or they have a limited amount of auditors that they're outsourcing what the auditors might be looking for with respects to utility bills. Where we really kind of separate ourselves is that most of those firms are identifying the low-hanging fruit, which we call the refund aspect of utility bill audits. They're the excise tax and the sales taxes, which even some accounting firms will look at when they're going through financial tax documents towards the end of the tax year. Where we kind of separate ourselves is a couple of different ways. Number one, we have a number of in-house auditors that are actually our paid employees, about 12 of them that have over 60 years utility bill auditing experience in all 50 states in the U.S., which we audit every state. Utility bill reductions is the big caveat that really kind of separates the men from the boys. So I'm going to give you a brief example. If most clients that we approach, they say, well, my utility rates are great with electric and natural gas, and they categorize us into the energy broker category. Our rates are good. I've been working with a guy for the last 10 years, which is fantastic. With reductions, and I'll give you an example, we had a large firm in Flint, Michigan. If we only looked at the electric bill from the perspective of we couldn't find excise tax, we couldn't find sales tax, they're paying the lowest rate possible based on the kilowatts they use because Michigan is a deregulated state, we'd have passed, said, great job, no refunds, thank you very much for the opportunity. What we did find is that a building, which was actually 3 units in one major building separated by 2 partition walls, had 3 separate electric meters. They were on a secondary electric rate. And this is where our auditors hone their skills. We knew that they were eligible to go from secondary to primary. We changed the electric rate, which qualified them for a electric reduction and saved the company $80,000 annually. And many times when we do the refunds and the reductions, the majority of the time, those savings are for the life of the utility bill account.
Mm-hmm.
So if you just, amortized $80,000 a year over 5 years, that's pushing $500,000. That's a lot of money to businesses today that, unfortunately, due to the COVID crunch and many other things that are affecting financial outcomes in the business world, they didn't do anything other than let us go to work for them.
And your proposition, of course, is uh, there's no obligation and there's no out-of-pocket cost to the client to get started with you.
Correct. We're 100% performance based. So people will say, okay, Dale, come on, you're not working for free. Where's the catch? Well, our audit agreement does state that for our efforts, our fee is 50% of whatever we find. But the reason we can make the statement there's never any out of pocket is we do not pay or bill the invoice to our client until and only until the client has been made whole by the utility. So we will never receive a penny until they've had the adjustment or check in hand from the utility that was audited in error. Therefore, they don't have any out of pocket. It doesn't affect financial cash flow.
So your team will conduct a professional quality audit along an array of utilities that we're going to get to in a moment. There's no cost, there's no obligation to the client, and when you find savings, it's my understanding you split the savings 50-50 with the owner. Is that for the entire period of the utility contract, or is that a limited period that you?
Well, great question, Robert. I'm glad you asked because this needs clarification. If it's a refund is a one-time 50-50 split. So if we found sales tax that amounted to $20,000 on the utility bill over a period of a year, 1 year, 2 years, we get 50% of the savings one time. If it's a reduction, that's a much deeper dive and a much more involved category. In the example that I cited just a few minutes ago, we actually had to do a field study where we had to send an electrical engineer out and actually see what the opportunity for that congregating the 3 meters and the 1 meter for the $80,000 annual savings was going to look like and the costs associated with that. In the case of a reduction finding, we get 50% of the reduction paid monthly for the next 24 months. In both cases, after those terms have expired, the customer keeps 100% for the life of that utility account.
Fantastic. And again, this is just found money because they're not paying anything and they're not signing on to any obligation.
Correct.
To engage you folks outside of this audit.
Exactly right.
And what are the utilities that you folks audit?
We'll audit electric, natural gas, water, sewer, internet, cable, wireless phone, and even though trash isn't a utility, I can't tell you how many tens of thousands of dollars we find in trash reductions and propane, if used.
Fantastic. Yeah, in my experience, I have not encountered another utility auditing company that has that large scale, an array of utilities that get audited the way you folks do, which is great. So I think I'm sure that our viewers are really, really interested in seeing a case study or two from you about how you've actually accomplished what it is that your proposition is to your clients.
Okay, let me see. Let me pull one up. I got my cheaters on, and that's the proposal summary.
So you're going to share your screen now with us, and
okay, can you see that, Robert?
I don't see you screen shared yet.
Okay, let me go back.
So while you're pulling that up, what I want to explain to folks is that NUR is one of our leading edge service providers in phase 1 of our cost-free compliance program, and which we lead with no cost, no obligation services like yours to find money, find savings. That's our value proposition just to get started with us. And we have a growing array of these sorts of services that are super valuable and super compelling. So I just wanted to put the context into where your firm and your service fits into our larger program. So now I see your utility audit summary
Right.
from 2016. Tell us about this one.
And Robert, if I could just add, we're extremely pleased, to be a part of your firm. We have a strong belief in what you're doing. We think you're actually leading the category in the outcomes that you're trying to achieve for commercial businesses from all walks of life. And we're happy just to play a small part in a role of a positive outcome you're trying to achieve for your clients.
That's great. Thanks. I really
So one of
appreciate
the
that.
things
We
we
love
found
working with
out
you
is,
guys.
when we approach a client and they say, we did that deal a few years ago and they didn't find anything, and I will ask a client, I go, well, would you mind just sharing the audit report with me? And we've come to find out that more times than not, companies aren't even receiving an auditing report from the firm that they retain to identify exactly what transpired through the auditing process. And here's another big example of where we're different. So basically, we start with a table of contents that shows all the utility accounts that we've audited. And then at the end of the audit, we will show accounts audited with findings, and then a summary of the findings. So this is going to be a redacted report because of client sensitivity and privilege of information. But in what's redacted, those would all show as account numbers. In the bold font, these are all the utilities, and these would be the account numbers associated with the utilities that we audit. Then we go over a checklist of what the result was of the audit, what we verified, what we analyzed, and what we validated. And there's a number of different things that you can see. We want to make sure we verify tariffs. We want to analyze past history usage. Were there meter discrepancies? We have a gentleman on our auditing team whose sole responsibility and expertise has to do with just evaluating meters, be it water, be it electric, or be it natural gas. Were there meter constants in billing procedures? Contractual charges. Many times we'll find what the person signed up for isn't really what he's getting charged for. Water usage and minimum rate charges, verified taxes, commercial terms of use, rate schedule, riders and opportunities, and we have to verify customer service records. Then we go on to what implemented findings were, and I'm going to go through this quickly. This was a natural sales tax discrepancy, which is one of the low-hanging fruits. What we will do is we will show the annual savings, and we will always amortize that out to a 3-year and 5-year. We'll identify how we will pursue the tax refund. There is an implementation document that we send to the client that's already made out. All he has to do is sign a date that says, I agree with the findings, please move forward. We take care of all the findings. We take care of all the financial responsibilities between the utility and the client. Once the client signs the implementation document, he's done. We take care of payment, follow-up, verification of payment, and then only and after only will we send the client the invoice for our 50% of our efforts. And then we will list billing information, which is basically a reinforcement of the audit agreement that he signed. This was a Dominion, which is a gas company. This was a meter classification. It was an error. Again, you can see the thoroughness and completeness of detail. It's an audit. When a client gets something done, he should be able to look at a report and identify exactly what happened.
Mm-hmm.
This was a reduction with cable rates, okay? This was a reduction with internet. And then the reduction in refund audit summary. So we will list the vendor, which is the utility, the type of adjustment. Was it sales tax, rate classification, rate reduction, and the annual amounts associated with our efforts. As you can see those on the screen. Now, this is also very important. As we go through the auditing process, some things at the time of the audit may not be able to address due to expiration of contracts, what the current status is of the existing contract. So at the end of the audit, we will make recommendations. At that time, if it's your client, you should follow up based on the recommendation and the timelines we provide, because we know there's going to be a discrepancy or error that should be addressed at that time, and we will note that here.
Hmm. Dale, can you maximize your screen?
Um,
There you go. That's it. Okay. I guess that's as good as large as it'll get.
yeah,
Okay. Fascinating. So in the end of the day, how much do you say? How much did you save this client?
we saved this client just short of 30,000. And this was a YMCA, which is a nonprofit. And when you can add somebody $30,000 to the bottom of somebody's books on an annual basis, that's enormous.
Yeah, for sure. That's really great. You know, it's found money. So you're like the bearer of great news generally. I mean, and what I like to tell folks about your service um, is that the worst outcome is that folks, businesses, property owners, and clients will get a professional quality audit done and will find out that they have not been ripped off by their utility providers. That's the
Yeah,
worst case scenario.
yeah, basically the industry norm states that as much as 80% of utility bills are in some way, shape, or form incorrect and erroneous with charges, rate categories, whatever the case may be. I can give you personally my statistic on the over 500 audits I've gone through with many of my clients, which just in the last 5 years alone, we've averaged anywhere from 850 to a million plus in annual savings. I run at about a 72% finding of errors, and the other 28% come back 100% correct, which there's still value, even though people want to get money back or reductions to add to their financial bottom line. They know that every penny they pay in utility bill expense is exactly what they should be paying. And in about 95% of the cases, utility bills are the second largest expense of an organization, a school, a church, a commercial business, which only runs second to their labor cost.
And as a real estate developer and property owner myself, uh, the great news about your services is it has a sort of a multiplier effect in that when you're lowering utility costs, you're then lowering operating expenses of a building. And when operating expenses go down, net operating income goes up. And when net operating income goes up, building valuation goes up. So you are literally, not only are you returning cash 70 some percent of the time, but you're literally also increasing the value of the building as well.
Exactly. And, to piggyback off that comment, and that's a very prudent statement, is that, a lot of commercial businesses would like to go to a more green energy concept, but there's some costs associated with that. So what many of our partnerships, such as the one we've entered with you, are going to give firms like Green Street the ability is that if we do have findings in utility bill expenses in regards to errors and overcharges, that can literally wipe out all or if not most of what that initial expense may be incurred to go to a more green energy dynamic with their commercial establishment.
Yes, absolutely. And that's, um, so to build on that, our proposition with our cost-free compliance or cost-free upgrade program is we actually work with Constellation Energy. They have a program called EME, Efficiency Made Easy, whereby when one of our clients will sign up for gas and or electric service, Constellation will lend their own funds, it's not bank financing, their own funds towards 100% of the energy efficiency and clean power work, both soft costs and hard costs. And then the beauty is that the savings that we achieve through the energy efficiency and clean power upgrades typically is greater than the finance costs of the loan. And so this is a way that not only is the client not having to write a check up front, but that in the end, with our savings that we bring, the utility savings and the energy efficiency upgrade and the clean power, but also with our upfront services that no cost and no obligation like yours, which saves additional money. That additional money, if necessary, will neutralize any cost that might arise through our process. So, you know, we are as passionate about our compliance and upgrade program as you are about your auditing, and we are always looking for the best and brightest in the field. There's a growing group of clean tech and prop tech firms that are coming online on an almost daily basis. We are on top of it on a global scale, and we're getting more and more really amazing, smart, leading edge firms like yours that are helping us to provide a truly unparalleled service to our clients, especially in New York City, where they're going to be looking at this huge liability with Local Law 97, which when it kicks in, for property owners who don't comply, there's going to be huge fines associated with it. So, and we can get started today with the EME financing and with your auditing. So there's no reason for clients to not engage with us right away. This is so informative, so interesting. Any last comments that you'd like to leave
Well,
with?
let me just bring up this one document on the screen, Robert, because
Sure.
people, might want to know, well, this is all great news, but how do I get started? And it's very simple. There's a one-page audit agreement. It's one page because it's simple, short, sweet. It's just going to identify you agree to our 50-50 split. And your current bills are not under internal or any other utility bill audit by a third party. We're going to ask you to fill out a simple information sheet, which is just company information. And we want to make sure that we have your electric, gas, water, sewer, internet, cable, wireless, telecom, trash, and if you use propane, company contacts, if you have any online access, and letter of authorization. Once those three documents are filled out, and we only need one current month's copy of all the utility bills that I've mentioned, your work's done and we can go to work on your behalf. And the auditing process is usually going to take about 6 to 8 weeks, just due to the COVID restrictions. Things are a little bit slower. It normally will take anywhere from 3 to 6 weeks, but sometimes faster, sometimes a little slower. And the key is here too, if we find something within the first week of the audit, we're not going to wait till the audit's been exhausted and wait those 6 to 8 weeks. We're going to send a preliminary report, which is going to be a smaller version than the full report that I demonstrated earlier to the viewers. And it's going to show what we found, and we want to get that in the works and the savings implemented in the next 1 to 2 bill cycles.
It's great. Yeah, you don't want to wait on savings, especially these days. No doubt about it. Well, and moreover, for folks that a simple way to get started is for folks to go onto our Green Street NYC website, and under our LL97 pages, when you click on LL97, the 3 phases of our program are very clearly delineated, and getting started is super easy. In our phase 1, you can click on for utility service audit, or our insurance audit, or our tax assessment to get started. And there's an online information to fill in, very simple. And that's another way to engage you folks through our site and through our portal. So Dale, really so interesting, fascinating. I love the work you guys do, and I love your effectiveness. I love your competence. You in particular have been, such a great resource. And so I hope that those who are listening to this, our show today, understand the depth of the resources that you bring to the table, and that we also, by affiliation, are bringing to them and their projects. So, really enjoyed it. Thank you so much, Dale. And we will definitely be in touch very soon with some potential work to do together.
Thank you,
To work together.
Robert.
Thank you.
Extremely delighted to be a part of the Green Street team.
Thanks, Dale. Take care. Have a great day.
You too.